Hi everybody, it's Ashley of Day-to-Day Social Worker. I am a private online tutor and I specialize in assisting people to pass the license exam in social work on the master's and bachelor's level. You can find me online at Day-to-Day Social Work or on YouTube and Facebook and Instagram at Day-to-Day Social Work as well. Welcome to all the new members. It has been a while since I did a video. And I just wanted to welcome all of the new people and all the new subscribers to the YouTube channel, all of the new members on the Facebook group and to the Instagram page. So welcome. Day-to-Day Social Work is all about all things social work, primarily the license exam. So if you haven't already, please subscribe to the channel and share the channel with your colleagues and browse some of the videos. Day-to-Day Social Work has been around since 2015, and there are tons of video on the YouTube channel to help you prepare to study for the license exam in social work on the master's and bachelor's level, and then also some clinical as well. I personally have not taken the clinical exam yet. I have 5 more supervision hours and 1 more module in my ethics course, and then I will be ready to submit my paperwork to sit for the clinical exam. And in South Carolina, it's called the lisw-cp, the Licensed Independent Social Work Clinical Practice is what it's called here in South Carolina, which is the license after your master's degree leveled license. So I'm excited about that. I'm nervous just like everybody else. I'm hoping to take my exam maybe in November, December at the latest. And so I'm going to be in the boat with everyone else. I'm going to be nervous and anxious and studying for yet another license exam. So yes, I did pass my license exam on the master's level the first try. And that's where all of this was born from as far as day-to-day social work. And I'm hoping to pass the clinical exam on the first try as well. So I'm going to be studying right along with y'all. I do want to just mention that the 75-day pre-recorded tutoring series is currently still on special for $95 until I say otherwise. The regular rate is $175 for the 75-day pre-recorded tutoring series, which is 75-day access, and it covers over 190 questions. I thoroughly break everything down in the videos. It's just like my live one-on-one tutoring that I used to do, but it's over 190 questions. I read each question out loud and I break everything down in the scenario. I go over why the right answer is right and as well as why the wrong answer choices are wrong. Everything is thoroughly broken down. If you have not already, please look at the testimonials on the Day-to-Day Social Work YouTube channel, and you will see some testimonials from our colleagues across the country that I've tutored and helped pass the license exam. So again, that is a special for only $95. The regular rate is $175, but due to the pandemic and people having hardships and not currently working or working part-time or being furloughed. I was furloughed. Well, I wasn't furloughed. I was reduced hours for a few months over the summer. And so I was working 1 week on and 1 week off. So I definitely get it. I had to apply for unemployment. And thank God that was there as a supplement to me working 1 week on and 1 week off. So, hey, everybody, we are in this together. So $95. Please email me if you have any questions or if you would like to purchase the 75-day pre-recorded tutoring series. It's 16 videos covering 190 plus questions. And the content adds up to about 12 to maybe 13 hours. So that's that. Again, I haven't done a Sunday social in so long because I've just lacked motivation. But today I said, I'm getting up. I'm not going anywhere today. Where can I possibly go anyway? We're in the pandemic. But, you know, I have been out hiking and walking miles and just being out in nature and away from people. But, you know, it's Sunday, so here is our Sunday social. I know it's been a long time. So I wanted to really, and this won't be a long one because I know that people don't have time to sit around for a long time and listen to me talk. But today I wanted to talk about crafting your career as a social worker, especially during and after the pandemic. So, us being in this pandemic is very, very different for everybody. It's like we were living life as normal, almost going into like we were kind of like on autopilot. It felt like we were just living life. Things were just what they were. And then all of a sudden, boom, we have this virus, and then life just halted and things changed. And I know a lot of people have reached out and told me how they have been affected by the pandemic and things like that. And for some people, a lot hasn't changed, which is great for them. For me personally, I worked from home before the pandemic. And so I didn't really have a lot change as far as that goes. But, as the months went by, kind of drains you mentally, not being able to have that social interaction. And so I think that a lot of people are recognizing the importance of social interaction, but we also need to recognize the importance of safety during this time. So hopefully you all are being safe, wearing masks if that is mandated by your city or state or county or whatever. Or, if you don't want to wear a mask, that's your business. I'm not here to tell people one way or the other, but for me and my house and my family, we wear our masks and we try to keep other people safe as well as ourselves. So I just hope that everybody is staying safe out there and adjusting to this new way of life, which is probably going to be how we're going to be living for a while. So at the same time, we're still social workers. And I think now more than ever, people will start to see the need for us and respect us more as a profession, because a lot of times people look at us as, the stigma of taking people's kids and working for social services and treating people badly and all the other bad stuff that they say about social workers that we know are not true and should not be generalized to apply to all of us, because it's not true. So in my own experience, I work in a medical setting, and some things recently switched up at my job. And so I'm working with a new set of people, namely physicians. And I think that they are definitely noticing how needed social workers are. I'm not saying they didn't notice before, but definitely with me being in this new kind of role, I'm starting to see that maybe they've always seen how important we are. But since I worked in a different area, they knew the importance of social work. But just in my experience, it's starting to become apparent to me that people are noticing that we are definitely needed and that people have needs. Like, everybody has needs. And a person could be going for a doctor's appointment and mention something happened to them, and then, hey, we need a social worker. And it's like almost every single time. So I think that that's a good thing that's come out from my own experience, is that I'm starting to see that people are starting to recognize the importance of social workers, the importance of our profession, the skills and knowledge that we have as social workers, and just our positive, upbeat demeanor and our ability to be able to take on a lot of people's emotional baggage and their emotional issues. So that's what I've learned from this pandemic as far as professionally, is that I think we're going to be more recognized and respected as a profession, because a lot of people, no matter if you work in a medical setting, if you work in a prison, if you work in a facility, if you work in a school, wherever you work, I think a lot of people are going to start to see, hey, people in general have needs, they have challenges, and these people are the ones who are trained and skilled for this kind of work. And so, no, I can't, as insert whatever profession you want, handle this. I need a social worker. So That being said, I think now more than ever, social workers are going to be a hot commodity on the job market when it comes to just any area, like I said. And let me check my notes out because I want to make sure I'm making sense to you all. The first thing I want to point out and kind of encourage is the therapy part of social work. So, like I said earlier, us being in this pandemic has made a lot of people become isolated against their own will. It's caused a lot of anxiety in a lot of people, myself included. It's caused a lot of depression in a lot of people, myself included. Not a lot. I've been more anxious than depressed, but it's caused a lot of challenges for a lot of people mentally. And so even though some of us are not social workers on a clinical level, we do clinical level work. And so I think that now more than ever, we really need to start considering becoming clinicians and therapists, because there will be a great need for therapists, even more so now during and after the pandemic, because of the implications of having to be socially isolated, of having to deal with family members and their challenges, of having to deal with partners, spouses, and situations. We know that there has been talk about how a lot of people are getting divorced due to the pandemic. There's a lot more domestic violence in some areas and in some households due to the pandemic. There's a lot more child abuse in some areas due to the pandemic. There's a lot of stress on a lot of people. There's the whole chaos of whether or not to send your children back to school in person or to have your kids homeschooled, which brings about its own challenges with childcare, with competency of the parent to be able to homeschool their child. So there's a lot of stuff going on to where a lot of people will need someone to talk to help them work through the challenges and the residual effects of the pandemic, as well as the effects that are present now as we are currently in it. And so I really do see a need for social workers becoming very prevalent in the near future. And of course, we have colleagues who are LPCs, who are also clinicians, but we're talking specifically about social work. So we as social workers have a little bit more wiggle room than the LPCs do to do a lot more. We are able to bill Medicare, whereas, well, I'll speak for the state of South Carolina. I'm not sure how it is in other states, but we are able to bill Medicare, whereas LPCs are not. And so that in itself gives us more opportunities and abilities to work with more people, namely the elderly population, who are also, of course, feeling the effects of the pandemic, and also are amongst the group of people who are struggling and suffering through mentally as well with depression and anxiety. So I think that, most people who are subscribed to this channel and who watch day-to-day social work are at least licensed, or at least have master's degrees. Some have bachelor's and are working on their master's, and some are just thinking about social work. But I think that those of us who are licensed and who are in the process of becoming licensed on the master's level, I think it's important for us now at this time to really, really consider being licensed on a clinical level if you think that's your calling. Everybody does not want to do therapy. Everybody is not qualified to do therapy. Everybody is not competent to do therapy. And some people, like I said, they just don't have a desire to do it. And that's fine. It's not for everybody. But if you've ever had that little inkling in you to where you were like, man, I think I want to be a therapist. I think I want to get my advanced license. And it's just, it's just going to take these many hours, and I got to do supervision. Maybe I have to pay for it and all this. So there are a lot of barriers to actually going and getting it started. For me, at first, I did not want to do therapy. I was not clinical minded at all. I was case management focused because that's all I had done. But then when I started in this job, I started working with kids and seeing the need. I started working directly with kids with chronic medical conditions, and I started seeing the need that they have. And I started seeing the discrepancies in the local mental health system, the access, the turnover rates of therapists, the inability for some of the patients to relate to their therapists. And so I was like, dang, maybe I can be a therapist, because I'm already kind of doing crisis intervention and management with some of these kids. And I was like, you know what? I really need to stop procrastinating and get on the ball and get these 100 clinical supervision hours out the way. And I think it's 3,000 contact hours. And so that was in 2018. And I'm now finally over the hump, and I see the light at the end of the tunnel, because I only have 5 hours left, and I can sign up to sit for my independent license exam. And I'll be able to go into private practice and focus on whatever I want to focus on. Right now, I think it'll be children and families, but hopefully I will grow into doing more with different groups of people and demographics. So if you've been thinking about becoming a therapist, now is the time to get into the hours, because here in South Carolina, we have between 2 and 4 years, like a minimum of 2 years is how long it should take to get your supervision hours out the way. And I think the maximum time that they will allow you is 4 years. So I like to get stuff done, and I'm right on the 2-year mark. Like, I'll be lined up to be done in exactly 2 years when I'm done with my 5 hours in 5 weeks. So, like I said, if you've ever thought about it, there will be a need for therapy even more. We already know before the pandemic, there's a very big need. But if you feel like you have that gift and you feel like you can make an impact in somebody's life, and you feel like you've had enough experience in your own life and in your professional career to where you can actually help someone help themselves in the therapy setting, then I definitely encourage you to go ahead and go for it, because the need will definitely be there. So that's the number one thing about crafting your career in the middle of this pandemic is, if you've ever thought about therapy, the time is now. Get into it. The second thing I think would be grant writing, and that's more of a macro-based kind of area of social work. So the grant writing skill is just a great skill to have. I've never taken a grant writing class. I want to. It's just not something that's a priority. It's something that I've put on the back burner for a while. And so I need to really get into that. But I think that, once we get over this hump of the pandemic, whether that's in a year and a half, 2 years, or whatever, if God lets us all make it through, which I'm hoping and praying that he does, and that we're all safe and still our sanity is intact. I think grant writing is a really good area to go into, which is something you could add on to your resume. And it's also something you could add on to your services. If you were to go into private practice, you can become a consultant and do grant writing for agencies, which is probably going to be a very big need because, like I said, of the pandemic. Once we stabilize or see some form of stability in the next few years, hopefully, I think there will be a lot of agencies and organizations and private donors like coming up with grants and giving out grants for different agencies to be able to help people because of the residual aftermath of the pandemic. And so having that skill is really going to help you be more marketable, and it's going to help you be able to help more clients, but from a macro level, because grant writing and obtaining grants is done on a macro level. So that's another thing is just be strategic. Like, this is a point in our careers where we need to be strategic, because our profession alone is one of the top professions for a situation like a pandemic. I mean, we help people at their toughest times, and this is one of those times. So, I mean, us living through this pandemic and going through the emotions of it all. And, you know, with grant writing, you have to write basically essays and tell how you get through things, or how you're going to spend the money, or why you need the money. And you have to paint a picture of the need and that kind of thing. So the fact that we're living through this, I think, really is going to help with the skill that we need to be able to write effective grants and get grant money to help agencies and organizations to be able to help large numbers of people. So that's another one. Of course, there's the nonprofit sector, different agencies like domestic violence shelters, child advocacy centers, homeless shelters, just shelters in general, rehabs for substance abuse, like all these different nonprofit agencies. For those of us who are not as experienced yet in our social work careers, these agencies are going to have, and probably already have, an influx of clients who have a need. So their need for social workers is going to be great and greater, and it's going to grow and grow and grow. And so this is a time where I call it doing your time as a social worker. I did my time in a nonprofit agency. I spent 4 years at a nonprofit agency where I learned everything. I feel like I could handle anything from being at that agency for 4 years and coming across all different kinds of people with different situations and backgrounds. And I learned a lot. So if you're an early start social worker, if you're green, as they call it, you know, if it's safe to do so, I think working at a nonprofit, even it doesn't even have to be a nonprofit, but just any agency where they help people in those different areas, I think now is the time to jump in. And, you know, sometimes these agencies don't pay well, but if you're just starting out, you got to start somewhere. That's not to say to lower your value or anything like that. But if you need to get in where you fit in, and you can fit in at one of these agencies, then I would say jump on that and get that experience, because your experience is always going to outweigh everything else. And so, like I said, working with people directly, doing direct services, direct care is always going to make you more marketable once you get more mature in the profession and you're a little more seasoned, and you can ask for more money and do more things and all that kind of stuff. So that's another one. So first is the therapy. The second one is the grant writing. The third is working for a nonprofit or direct services, some agency where you can do direct services. And like I said, it doesn't necessarily have to be a nonprofit. It could be a hospital. It could be a prison. It could be a school. It could be hospice, just anywhere where you're doing direct services where you can get that experience to build your resume, because the need is going to be great, because more people are going to start utilizing those services. Let's see, what else? And then any other macro level social work position. So like, if you are a little more seasoned and if you have a lot more experience, and sometimes even if you don't, depending on what the need is, where you are, now is the time to try to move up in your career as well. So if you've had all of that experience doing direct services, you have your degree, you have your credential, your license, and all that kind of stuff, now is the time to actually put some of us actual social workers in these higher level positions at these agencies and companies, so that we are directors and CEOs and program managers and that kind of thing, because it's nothing worse than working for an agency and the person at the top has no clue what's going on down in the trenches. And so I think now more than ever is the time to show off your skills, your knowledge, and your abilities their KSAs on the exam, knowledge, skills, and abilities, which just a little plug in there. Knowledge, skills, and abilities are what you need to know for the license exam. So make sure that you know what the KSAs are and that you get a copy of them and that you study them when you're studying for your license exam, whether it's on the master's, bachelor's, or clinical level. But anyway, now is the time for you to jump in there and show that you know what to do. You have this experience. You've worked on the micro level, you worked in the meso level, you worked maybe at the macro level, but being a supervisor, a CEO, a program director, all of that is pretty much what a lot of people strive for once they get a little bit more into the career, because they've done a lot of different things on the meso micro level, and now they want to go macro and be able to delegate responsibilities and allocate grant money for different programs because we know what's needed. So it's really like a tier system that we are already used to, the micro, the meso, and the macro. So just think of your career that way. You got to strategize, and you start out on the micro level when you're just starting as a green social worker. You're trying to get that direct services care, your direct services position where you care for clients one-on-one. As you get a little more seasoned, you move up into the meso level where you may be doing the grant writing. And then also on the micro level is the therapy, but the meso level is more of the grant writing and program evaluation and that kind of thing. And then as you get more and more up into your career, and this is not set in stone, you can move around no matter where you are in the career, but just in a chronological order, I think about it that way. You get on that macro level where you are, like I said, you're more in charge because you've seen it all, you've done it all. Maybe not all, but for lack of a better word, you've seen a lot, you've done a lot, you've experienced a lot, and you now have that competency to be able to be in charge. So, in the middle of this pandemic, like I said, the need for us social workers is great. It's going to be great. It's going to stay great. I think that we can start demanding more as far as money goes. Don't let anybody tell you that social workers don't make any money, because your career is what you make it, just like anything else or anybody else's career. So you can make a very comfortable salary as a social worker if you know how to move and shake. And I'll try to help you learn how to move and shake. So also, don't be afraid to negotiate your salary. I did not negotiate my salary when I started my current job, and I should have. And I regretted it for at least a year or so, but then I got over it because I got raises and stuff. But don't sell yourself short. You won't get what you don't ask for. If you ask for it, all they can say is no, and you move on. But, make sure you negotiate your worth. Some places have a set budget, especially nonprofits. They're not able to kind of negotiate with you a whole lot because they don't have a lot of money. And that's where a lot of people start in the more micro level, new social worker kind of areas. Is where you got to just jump in and get that experience. So you can't just jump out and start demanding $100,000 and you just got out of grad school and you don't know what you're doing. So, but yeah, just make sure that you're being strategic with your career. And that's what I have to say on crafting your career as a social worker during the pandemic. So hopefully this has been a helpful video for you. Please leave your comments in the comments section. And if you have any topics you want me to talk about in the next videos, let me know. Please subscribe to the channel. Hit the like button if you think this video is helpful. Share the videos with your colleagues and your friends, your family. And make sure that if you are studying for your exam, that you remember that the 75-day pre-recorded tutoring series is on special for only $95 until further notice because of the pandemic. And the rate is normally $175. So you're getting a very good discount on some quality material that has helped colleagues all across the nation pass the exam. Check out the testimonials on the YouTube channel. And yeah, so if you have questions, you can always email me. My email will be in the description box below. And until next time, I'll see you in the next video. I hope you all have a great evening. Thank you for the work that you do, and I will see you next video.